Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics. I'm going to do something a little different today. Usually I talk about artists or I talk about a specific topic like, say like a series, like the Legion of Super Villains or, Justice Society or whatever. Today I'm doing something slightly different and I'm going to talk about a genre. This particular genre is one of my favorites. I have been a big fan of it forever. Basically, it started when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, and my love for it continued. And when I discovered that there were comic books, especially in the Conan vein, I was very, very happy to read those books. And that genre, of course, is Sword and Sorcery. Now, lately there has been some Sword and Sorcery videos that have come out. For example, there was a top 10 list not too long back. That top 10 list was inspired at the time by the fact I had mentioned I was going to do this video. So that led to this, but I have taken the time. This one took a little while to put together. One, because I wanted to make sure I had enough titles pulled out, and honestly, with everything in my place all over the place, it took some time to put together, and also the research behind it because there's quite a few different titles here, and I wanted to have some information with regards to every one of them I show. I just don't want to show covers. Sword and Sorcery is also known as heroic fantasy. This is a genre of comics characterized by sword-wielding heroes engaged in exciting and very violent adventures. There are usually elements of romance, magic, and large amounts of supernatural material when it comes to this genre. And the supernatural part, of course, is where the sorcery comes from. The genre is different from high fantasy, such as Lord of the Rings. I couldn't read the such word, such as Lord of the Rings, because the stories tend to be more about the individuals and not about the world in general. There's no overarching story arc. I mean, Conan is an exception because he eventually becomes king, right? Similar to Lord of the Rings in that, Aragorn becomes king at some point. But the Lord of the Rings focuses on the world around. You're learning things about the hobbits, where when it comes to this genre, the comic genre, they tend to stick to the information that you need for that one story. The first Sword and Sorcery comic was was known as The Shadow Kingdom, which was adapted from a Robert E. Howard story, a 1929 story that introduced the character of King Kull. And that is a result of Robert E. Howard, by the way, the creator of Conan, is a big influence in the genre. The Conan stories seem to be the the brick that everything is based on. Like if you read the Conan, he started, of course, in a pulp. The Robert E. Howard wrote both Kull and Conan in his short lifetime in the pulps, and they became big parts of what came along later. The stories are usually situational for the character, and they do not necessarily reflect good versus evil. And I'll give an example, Conan again, because I'll be honest, I'm most familiar with Conan books, although I read a lot of different Sword and Sorcery. Part of it is because there's so many Conans compared to like other titles. Conan starts as a child slave, becomes a thief, eventually becomes a mercenary, and then comes king, and all this stuff, and builds up and it builds up. The term sword and sorcery comes from 1961 when British author Michael Morlock wrote an essay in the fanzine and Calgon. Thomas said that the protagonist of the story is usually an anti-hero that go around just surviving and having to overcome challenges from bandits, strange creatures, and sorcerers, usually completing quests and staying one step ahead of the law. There's there's almost always, oh my god, I really, oh yes, there's almost always a damsel in distress to make things even more interesting. I couldn't read the word damsel. I still have problems with my writing. I really need to go get my eyes checked. So I apologize for these sort of breaks. The first published Sword and Sorcery comic is considered to be Out of This World Adventures in 1950, that December 1950, featuring the character Crom the Barbarian. This was written by Gardner Fox and drawn by John Gianta. Now, the difference between the one I mentioned earlier with the Shadow Kingdom and the one I'm talking about now, the Shadow Kingdom did not appear in an American comic book as we know it. This is the actual first appearance in an American comic book. Okay. Conan the Barbarian won in October 1970 is considered to be the second ever Sword and Sorcery book, and it was the first one to sort of light a fire under the genre and make it popular. The early 70s was a time where a lot of different type of movies. You had blaxploitation, you had karate movies, sexploitation, like some of like Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, that kind of stuff. They were all making parts. They were all sort of going out there and trying to get a slice of that cult following, and they all did to some degree or another. Conan, of course, is the one that made Sword and Sorcery more mainstream. Eventually, we got the movie with starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, but the success of Conan led to a bunch of other books being done in the early 70s, and that's where the majority of the books that I have for you today come from. Um, but the success of Conan led to people liking it. Between Conan and Lord of the Rings, you started getting things like the Dungeons and Dragons game. You started getting more and more fantasy books written because sci-fi had actually taken over for quite a while. And at one point in the 60s, there was 10 or 11 sci-fi books for every high fantasy book that came out. Nobody seemed wanted to compete against Tolkien. So here I'm going to go now. I've been yammering on for a while now. So let's get to the books. I'm going to start with one of my personal favorites. Created by Mark Grell. My Mike Grell. I can't believe I screwed that one up. The Warlord debuted in first issue special 8 of November 1975. Warlord is Travis Morgan. This is Warlord number 1. Warlord is Travis Morgan, a Vietnam vet who ends up in a hollow earth named Scartaris, a world where the sun never sets. He has various adventures with various characters and even travels to the future at one point and becomes the United States president. Travis eventually is killed by his own son, Joshua. That's his ultimate fate. This is issue 1. I brought a couple of Warlords. Here's issue 20. I just like the cover. And this is Warlord 48, which I'm showing because it's also a first appearance of another character that's going to be on this list. Next up, we have the character Kull. Kull, of course, was created by Robert E. Howard in the beginning. Okay? But Kull, after Conan was good, they decided to use Kull and put Kull out as another series. And there have been several Kull series over the years from Marvel Comics from between 1971 and 1985. Kull was the second real Sword and Sorcery book to make it for a bit. And there's also going to be a Titans comic series who has the current rights to the Robert E. Howard characters coming out starting in 2027 when the rights the rights to Kull go to them. They got the Conan rights already, but Kull, they had another 5 years to wait before they had got the rights to the character. The original 1971 series, I'm going to show a couple books from, and they were done by Marie Severin and John Severin, a brother and sister team. Cull was where that the Cull was the original. The stories of Cull was where the original um, appearances of the character Thulsa Doom, who of course was the bad guy played by James Earl Jones in the Conan movie, but he originally started in Cull stories. He does make appearances in Conan later. Conan is supposedly 10,000 years down the road. Anyways, this is Cull the Conqueror 1. And Cull the Destroyer, number 25. After issue 12, they changed it from the Conqueror to the Destroyer, but it's considered one series. They consider the series just named Cull because that's what it says in the indicia. Next up is a very recent book. This one is called Cruel Kingdom and is by Oni Press under their EC Comics brand. This is a broad new title debuting in October of 2024, which has a cover date of January 25. This book is based on the old EC horror sci-fi books from the 1950s and serves as their entry into the dark fantasy and Sword of Sorcery genre. And here's issue number 1. And right off the bat, it says sorcery in the cover, and you've got a big ass sword there, thus making it a sword and sorcery book. The next series I'm going to cover is one called Birthright, and it's written by Joshua Williamson, and art is done by Andre Bresson. This series debuted in October 2014. Basically, days before his surprise birthday party, young Mikey Rhodes goes missing. Returning 1 year later, he's returning as an adult, meaning that time went by faster in this era, in this place he ended up, than Earth. He was in a world named Tyrannos and was raised as a warrior. The series has been optioned to make a movie, but as of yet, nothing has moved on, and it's in development hell. This is Birthright number 2. This is the earliest issue I have, and the only issue I have. But it's got this really cool cover. There's like orcs and goblins in this, and there's of course the child that eventually becomes the warrior who returns. Basically, you get the origin in issue 1, and then a lot of the rest of the series is the story as the kid grows up. Next up is one of my favorite characters of all time. Created based on notes from Robert E. Howard, but written by Roy Thomas, art by Barry Windsor Smith. Okay, this is Red Sonja. Red Sonja was debuted in Marvel Comics in 1973, and she was based partially on Robert E. Howard's Conan character from the Conan stories, Red Sonja of Rogatino. Marvel Comics published her in various Conan books until she got her own title in 1977. After which, she was featured in Volume 2 of Marvel Feature, which was started in this of course was after. Sorry, let me rephrase this. She did a 7-issue stint in Marvel Feature in 1975, thus showing that she could have her own book, and that led to it in 1977. She has been published by Dynamite Comics since 2005. Isn't she awesome? The next one I'm going to do is a more recent title. Again, this one is called Fire and Ice, and it's by Dynamite Comics, written by Bill Willingham, and the art is done by Lorenzo Manco. Sorry, Leonardo Manco. Again, the book serves as a prequel to a movie by Frank Frazetta and Ralph Bakshi, the Fire and Ice movie that they did. This is the first series and stories of the place since the movie came out in 1982. The first issue of this series had 26 variances. Needless to say, I guess they were hoping that would get the book off to a good start. This is issue 4. Okay, the series features the fight between the sorceress Juliana and the Queen of Firekeep, and the minions that they use in this fight. Because some of the minions, I call them minions, but they're not always minions, but you know what I mean. Next up is the character that whose first issue was debuted in Warlord 48, and that is Arak, Son of Thunder. Now, this should not technically be a sword and sorcery book because it takes place in the real world. However, there are elements of sorcery in the book, so therefore I consider it to be a sword and sorcery book. Written by Roy Thomas, are we noticing a pattern here? And the art by Ernie Cologne, debuting, as I said, in Warlord 48 as a 16-page issue. He was given his own title. Here, this is Arak number 1 in September 1981. It ran for 50 issues, starring Arak, whose real name is Bright Sky After Storm, a native North American, ends up at sea, and he is found and brought back to Norway by Vikings. Arak spends his time mostly fighting mythological creatures, and that's where the sorcery part comes out of it. Arak as a character was given much better treatment than natives were generally shown even in books of even this late era. Arak was considered to be smart, like they made him written to be smart, resourceful, and one of the most noble characters in this book. And I think that was a good way to go, because Arak is a really good character. Few left. I know this video is going a little longer than usual, but I really like this topic. Next up, we have Beowulf from DC, written by Michael Uslan, and art by Ricardo Villamonte. This is issue 4. His first appearance is Beowulf Dragonslayer 1 of May 75, so he got to even have his debut right off the bat by himself. No tryouts, no nothing. It's based on the Anglo-Saxon myth of Beowulf. This series only lasted 6 issues. In this, the character travels to Daneland fighting Grendel, and enemies such as Dracula, like he does in this book, and he ends up in Crete by the end of the 6 issues. Beowulf returns eventually as the backup in the new 52 title Sword of Sorcery, which only lasted 8 issues with a 0 back in 2011. Next up is the first book that I ever bought from this company. This is an Atlas book from the 1970s, and it's called Barbarians, and the feature is Ironjaw. Created by Michael Fleischer and art by Mike Sikowski. Ironjaw was, as a kid, was abandoned and left to die by his stepfather, the king, and ended up being raised by a bandit by the name of Tarlock. His jaw gets removed by jealous thieves who take his jaw and replaces it with an iron jaw. That's where he gets his name. The original Ironjaw series went 4 issues, and then the character also appeared here in the single issue of Barbarians from June 1975. The other Ironjaw series did not go, as I said, 4 issues. It was interesting, but not as far as a lot of the other ones were. My problem is the series went too short to really get into the character. This one had potential. Next up is back to DC, Arion, Lord of Atlantis. This is issue 1. Created in March 1982 and debuting in issue 55 of Warlord. I have that. And was then retconned to be tied to Power Girl and Aquaman. He is a hero from legendary Atlantis, an immortal wizard and demigod from ancient Atlantis. He served as the king's sorcerer supreme and is a ranked member of the Lords of Order. He was very revered at the time and is considered the first member of the Homo Magi race, the one that Zatanna and Zatara are part of. He has continued to be used today as he was in a recent Justice League storyline in 2018. I have that. Arion is shown to know Queen Hippolyta and their friends. Arion was finally defeated and unable to stop the sinking of Atlantis. And thus, a lot of his current appearances, sometimes he comes in as a person, he says he's time traveled, but there's a lot of times it's just a spirit essence. And that's what was happening for a while in Justice League International. I've got 3 to go. This is Stalker, written by one of my favorites, Paul Levitz. An art was done by Steve Ditko, and the inks were done by Wally Wood. So this is, right off the bat, the creative team screams, why wasn't this a success? This is Stalker number 3. His first appearance was Stalker number 1 in June-July 1975. The book only lasted 4 issues. A young warrior seeking immortality defeats the demon Dagurth, winning invulnerability at the cost of his soul. Sorry, immortality at the cost of his soul. Invulnerability, too. If you're immortal, nothing kills you. That kind of makes you invulnerable. The more he traveled, the more he notices that he is changing to resemble the demon. He becomes known as Stalker the Soulless and quests to retrieve his soul. He was also a backup. After Beowulf, he was the second backup used in the Sword and Sorcery comic in the New 52. Which again, basically Beowulf got 4 issues and he got 4. 4 issues in the Zero, and Stalker got the other 4. The next one is Claw the Unconquered, written by David Michelin and art is by Ernie Chan. First appearance was another one where it was the same one. This is issue 4. The first appearance was Claw the Unconquered in number 1, May-June 1975. Living in the world of Pytharia, Claw was considered to be a copy of Conan, except that he possesses a demonic clawed left hand due to a deal his father made with demons. The sorcerer Oculus learns that a clawed man will eventually defeat him and kills, his real name is Vulcan. It kills Vulcan's father in an attempt to save himself. Claw is actually related to the title Starfire, as in Claw and Starfire, and I don't know how I didn't get that far, but they're related somehow. It's the same world, same, I think they're relatives, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't read Starfire yet. Although I plan on getting a copy. Again, because I like these books. And the last one is obviously the best. I will save the big one for last. Conan the Barbarian. Created in 1932 by Robert E. Howard in the pulp Weird Tales. The original and best. The first Conan adaptation was actually issued in Mexico in 1952. Marvel did the first American Conan book in October 1970, written by Roy Thomas and drawn by Barry Windsor Smith. Marvel also launched a magazine called The Savage Sword of Conan, as well as making Conan the star of Savage Tales. Marvel had the title until the early 2000s, and then Dark Horse took it over from 2003 to 2018. 2018, Marvel got the rights back for Conan, but they've lost it again in 2023 when it came up, and Titan has got the the rights. Titan has the rights to Conan right now. Now, I'm going to do a more detailed Conan video in the future. So right now, I'm just giving you the quick overview, and I'm going to give you some covers. This is Conan 16, which has my favorite story about Conan in it, the one with the Frost Giant's daughter. That's been done just about every time it's been done in the magazines, it's been done in the comics, it's been done in every comic company that gets the rights to it, makes their own copy of it. It's that popular. This is Conan 23, which is also the first appearance of Red Sonja. And one of my prized books, one of my prized possessions. This is Conan number 80. I just thought it was a fun cover. Conan in fight to the death with the wrestling match. And all the women standing around. Oh no, Conan, is everything going to be all right? Typical stuff, right? And the last one I'm going to show is the most recent book in the series. This is Conan 25 from Titan. And I wanted to show this one because, Conan is being published to this day. And, I wanted to show a little bit of that. Thus endeth the lesson, as thou shalt understand it. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Tell me below in the comments if you collect Sword and Sorcery, and if so, who do you like? You can also tell me you think Sword and Sorcery is dumb. I'm good with that. I just want to hear what everybody has to think about it. I really appreciate everybody taking the time today to watch. This was a longer video than usual, but I'm trying to cover, 50 years, well, actually 100 years now, almost 90 years for sure, of history in this genre, so to speak, in a 25 or so minute video for everybody. Again, I'm just scratching the surface. I could get into serious, when it comes to Sword and Sorcery, I like it almost as much as I like Supergirl. So for those that know, they know. And quite simply, it's, there's always something new. There's always another bad guy. There's always another sorcerer to fight. And I think that that's really cool about this genre. Thank you very much for coming and joining me today. My name is Matt. I like comics, and I hope you do too. Bye, everybody.